Do you want to see some cool graves? Even better, do you want to see some cool graves of some golden age of Hollywood people? Me too! Let's go! I'm Lauren Blair Donovan and I'm something of a cemetery connoisseur. No, I'm not a weirdo. I'm just trying to normalize dialogues about loss because it's a life fact. I've lost a lot of people, so this is personal for me. And I go to cemeteries and try to normalize these dialogues myself, one grave at a time. Call me the Rosie Riveter of cemeteries if you must, but that's okay too. But now it's time to check out some cool graves. If you can't read it, don't worry, you do not need to go to the eye doctor. This is sadly the grave of Rita Hayworth, and oof, she is in bad shape. If any people who do grave restorations want to sound off in the comments or stitch this, I would love it because I really want to know, is this even repairable? Like, if it got a good cleaning, would it be in better shape, or does it need a whole new plaque altogether? So the first time I went to Holy Cross Cemetery, which is where Rita Hayworth is interred in Culver City, California, I went with my friend Clark Inez, and we had to give up on finding this grave because we couldn't find her. And we thought we were going crazy because here I am with my friend Kurt Dion, who's a graver just like me. He is in the second episode where I went to Holy Cross. He wrote a book about graves of the presidents. Check it out. Anyway, Clark and I knew that Rita Hayworth was in the grotto. What's the grotto? It's the backdrop of what Kurt and I are standing in front of. The grotto is actually one of the coolest cemetery features I've ever seen, and that's kind of saying something because Holy Cross Cemetery, it's pretty and all, it's just not my favorite though. It's not my least favorite, it just doesn't do a ton for me, but this grotto, no notes. It's pretty amazing, it's pretty unique, it's all the things, I love it. So we knew Rita Hayworth was there, and it's really not that big of a section, all things considered, especially for larger California cemeteries. Like, I grew up in small town Pennsylvania. I had no idea how big some cemeteries could be, like wowzers. This one's like middle big, if that makes any sense, and this section was pretty small and we couldn't find her. But then Kurt did. And obviously this is the photo I took to send to Clark because, like, no wonder we couldn't find her. We're not dum-dums. It's just nobody has been taking care of her grave, and that's just really sad. I don't like it. Don't even get me started about like grave wear and tear because it's a topic that I do care about, but I'm just starting to learn more about. Hence, I'm like putting out the bat signal for any other people on TikTok that might know the answers to these things because it's like my new favorite thing. Maybe not favorite, but yeah, I'm starting to get just very interested about all the things about headstones, including restoration. But Rita Hayworth is such a legend, so this is just sad to see her grave in such disarray. You know, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a huge bummer. But I'm at least happy she's in such a beautiful section because seriously, the grotto it's really pretty. And here we have the grave of John Wayne. He is interred at Pacific View Memorial Park. And look, I either know everything about culture or I know nothing. There's no in between with me. I've weirdly never seen a John Wayne movie, but he's so synonymous in culture, of course I know who he is. But what I like about his grave is it's very Western, and even if I did not know that he was like Mr. Western, I would have thought, I wonder if this man was an actor and maybe in some Western movies. Because you know me, I do love a grave where it kind of paints a story of the life you had, I'm just saying. Luckily though, I went with my friend Greenberry, who has a very special connection to John Wayne because her grandfather was obsessed, so she grew up watching. I actually highly recommend this episode if you haven't seen it yet. Greenberry is one of my closest friends, and we just had a lot of great talks and found some cool graves. And didn't find a cool grave, but we kind of did. But you gotta watch it to find out what I'm talking about. Button in bio, thank you. But special thank you to Greenberry for making that episode not only amazing and frankly one of my favorites, but for helping me learn more about John Wayne because, like I said, I've never seen his movies. I just appreciate that he's a larger-than-life movie star. And moving on to Forest Lawn, Glendale, here I am at the grave of Jimmy Stewart, and yes, that is me acting like an airplane in front of Jimmy Stewart's grave because he was in the Air Force, duh. Look, this is a special photo for me because my grandfather was in the Air Force and even served with Jimmy Stewart. So like I grew up hearing that and like it's just special, okay? and sad because I had literally nobody to share this photo with that would have cared because most of my family is not alive. So, but I like it and I stand by it even if it's cringe. I don't care. Also, I found out his middle name was Maitland at his grave, and I kind of low-key to high-key love it. Also, I've been watching some of Jimmy Stewart's movies recently, and I just wanted to recommend The Bell, the Book, and the Candle. I think that's the one. It might be like butchering some of the word order, but like if you just put in those words, it'll come up. It is oddly good. It's just good. I'm just gonna say that. Go watch it. And I just wanted to share a story that I read that when Jimmy passed, right before he passed, he said, "I'm going to be with Gloria now," which was his wife who had already passed. I'm not even spiritual, and we're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole on this channel because this should be for everyone, so I don't want to alienate people. Death is not only a life fact, but we're all invited. But I think regardless of what spiritual beliefs you have or don't have, I just think it's sweet. Like, I just like it when a widow still likes / loves their spouse. Because that's not always the case, believe it or not. That sounds crazy, but trust me, if you know, you know. And I'm kind of a romantic and a softie with all that stuff, and I just get weirdly happy when I see graves of couples together. I don't know why. They may have had terrible marriages, but I don't know. It makes me happy. I get irrational and just assume it was all love and roses and like sprinkles and nothing bad, but I know better. I'm actually more logical, but anyway. I just wanted to share that little Jimmy Stewart story with you in case you are a weirdo who just gets enchanted by stuff like that, like me. Thank you so much for watching. Which ones were your favorites and have you been to any of them? Also, what cool graves of old Hollywood would you like to see? Because I have a bunch, and just tell me if you have some favorites that you want me to put out first. Please hit that follow button, and again, if you can go visit my YouTube and subscribe and watch all the videos, or one of the videos, whatever, I'll love you forever. And as always, stay alive until next time. Bye. Do you want to see some cool graves of some cool old Hollywood movie stars? Me too, so let's go! I'm Lauren Blair Donovan, and I go to cemeteries because I like to think about life and death and normalize dialogues about those things, like on my show, Creepy and Kooky TikTok on YouTube, button in profile if you want to go check it out, but also here on this TikTok, so let's go! Yo, TikTok, you gotta have more long music songs because if you did, I'd be playing Bauhaus Bela Lugosi's Dead because it would probably take the whole length of this video anyway. And we're at the grave of Bela Lugosi. Now, admittedly, I mostly know him from the Bauhaus song because it's a slow bop. I love it. It's a sad bop. I don't know how to put it, but I think it's the catchiest slow song ever. I have tried to watch the first ever Dracula, and I am somebody who loves old movies, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I couldn't get into it. It was very slow for my taste, but I will go back one day. And I know he was an actor and did other things, but obviously he is most known for Dracula. Bela Lugosi is at Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, California, which is a Catholic cemetery. And I just want to say it is so impressive that he still has people giving him flowers, and it looks like there might even be a kiss mark in the lower right-hand corner. Ooh la la. I don't really actually know how I feel about kissing graves, to be honest with you. It doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, let's put it that way. But sometimes it's just fun to say ooh la la, so I made a choice. Obviously the theming of this is pretty religious. There's no Dracula, which I guess makes sense. It is a Catholic cemetery. That might be a stretch, especially for the 50s. But Bela Lugosi is a pretty unusual name to have in a California cemetery, so if you're looking for his grave, it doesn't need a lot of fanfare. The name itself will probably jump out to you pretty easily. And here I am at Hollywood Forever at the grave of Wray. She is most famously known for King Kong. This is a very understated grave, hence there's not really like a close-up. It's just her name and birth and death year. She does have this cool bench though, and I appreciated sitting down because it's a lot of walking in cemeteries, which I'm actually into, but it's also a lot of standing to film, which I'm less into. And this was a hot day, hence my Zevia soda, so a bench was appreciated. Thank you, Miss Wray. And here's its sister photo with my co-host for the day, the lovely Samantha Jane, who actually showed me this grave. I had been to Hollywood Forever multiple times and had even filmed, I think, twice. I think this was our third go around. And by ours, I mean me and everyone at Creepy and Kooky. I think Hollywood Forever is one of the few that was a trilogy that had different co-hosts each time. But this is literally Samantha's favorite place in Los Angeles, and she knows it like the back of her hand. And she showed me a lot of cool features in this already cool cemetery that I couldn't believe were kind of hiding in plain sight, and I had never found them myself, so that's a good episode. Go and watch it. Link in bio, button in bio, if you haven't already, and I'll forgive you if you go and watch it now. You're welcome. I forgive you no matter what, but I super appreciate it if you guys do watch. So yeah, this is understated, but it's cool because it's so pretty, and I like the bench. I'm still not over the bench. I like a bench, okay? I'm such a rube that you would think I would only know Bette Davis from the Kim Carnes song. Did I say her last name right? But not only is that song a bop, but so are most of Bette Davis's movies, and I've seen a bunch. She was like my first quarantine rabbit hole. I watched so many Bette Davis movies in the spring of 2020, like I'm back on an old movie kick, and I feel like I watched another of hers recently, but now I'm blanking on it because I'm me and my memory is still coming back to me. But here is the wonderful Miss Bette Davis here at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills. She's in definitely a movie star sarcophagus. That's right, that is a sarcophagus. Not just for ancient Egyptians, y'all. She is buried with her mom and her sister, which I think is nice. And her epitaph is, "She did it the hard way." This is such an interesting grave to me because it's clearly not an ego trip the way sometimes some graves are, which weirdly are not usually the famous people we know, but that's another TED Talk for another time. Like, there's not really a ton that, like, calls to what she did in life. A little bit she did it the hard way, but it's a whole sarcophagus, and there's, like, a whole angel on top of it. You can't miss it. Literally, we were walking up to this section, and I think even maybe on camera, I was like, oh, I see Bette Davis, because you couldn't miss it. You could see it from space. It's a cool sarcophagus. It catches the eye. But all jokes aside, like, I love that she has an easy to find grave because a lot of the graves at Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills I have found to be actually quite challenging, so it's a cemetery that's well labeled and yet it's not. But I love this grave and I love Bette Davis, so this was a big one for me. What about you guys? Have you guys seen any of these graves? Are you shocked by how big or by how small some of them are? What old school Hollywood people are you looking forward to hopefully me covering? Because there's more coming, so hit that follow button. And as always, stay alive until next time. Do you want to see some cool graves? Specifically of the iconic tap dancing duo that is Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers? Who coincidentally are in my most recent episode, like the full episode of Creepy and Kooky and not just these little micro episodes I give you guys on TikTok. Me too! Let's go! I'm Lauren Blair Donovan, and I like to talk about all the dark things because I've had a dark, dark life. And I like to normalize dialogues about it, so why not do them in a cemetery? Let's go! Fred and Ginger ironically ended up being buried in the same cemetery, which is Oakwood Memorial Park, which is basically at the city limits of Los Angeles, deep in the valley. And here we are at the grave of Fred Astaire, where I am choosing to dance at his grave, which I get. That's like, sounds like real bad form, but the man was a dancer, like it's what he was known for. It feels inappropriate to not dance at Fred Astaire's grave. I'm celebrating his life, not rejoicing in his passing, duh. I'm a former dancer. I even have adult tap shoes. Like, I like this man a lot. And then this happy accident happened. And if you don't see it, look up, there's a shoe flying. Shout out to my photographer, Lacey Hornick, who was also there because she was my almost always co-host for all the episodes. Okay, not always, but like 4 or 5 times. That's like a record, I think. She was such a good photographer catching this exact moment, which was on portrait mode, so naturally we couldn't make it like live. So we did a little retake that I already posted on here, where I'm just dancing and kick my shoe off at Fred Astaire's grave, as you do. But it really did happen organically. Back to the man, the myth, the legend himself, of course, though. I think this is one of the classiest graves I've ever seen of a celebrity. It says Fred Astaire, which technically is his stage name. He had a longer last name that he changed to, I guess, make it in show business, but he only has a stage name here. I'd go look it up, but I know I'm not going to pronounce it right because I'm me, so moving on. His epitaph says, "I will always love you, my darling," which I'm assuming that was for his wife. He was married twice. He was widowed in the mid-century, I want to say, and got remarried some years before he passed. So marital mystery here. Which one is my darling? But then it also just says thank you in what appears to be all caps. And I feel like that was maybe to his family and wife, but also to his fans. I don't know. I just kind of get that vibe that it might be the latter. It's just so simple and dignified, and I'm here for it. And then literally, if you just walk east a little bit away from the mountains, you will find yourself at Ginger Rogers' grave. I still can't get over that they're in the same cemetery. I kind of feel like I glossed over that, so let's do a moment, let's breathe, and let's divide and conquer. There's a lot of people in Hollywood who are buried near their co-stars, like their former co-stars in life from like the movies or television shows, bands that they were in, etc. And it sounds obvious if they're all living in Los Angeles, but also there's a lot of really prestigious cemeteries, and there's a bunch of cemeteries that are maybe a little more understated, like this one, Oakwood Memorial Park, that is. And this is, like I said, it's on the outskirts of Los Angeles. It's not near a lot of things, like it's just not. And yet they're here. They're here. There's other famous internments here. I did not personally recognize them. Maybe they're your favorites and I'm not trying to like alienate them. Fred and Ginger were the only two I happened to know in this one, so they're the only two we covered. But this is a random cemetery. This is not like a heavy hitter. This isn't one of the Forest Lawns. This isn't Westwood. This isn't Hollywood Forever. It's not even like Hillside, which is, I think, secretly one of the most prestigious cemeteries in terms of like Hollywood history. It just doesn't get the same glitz and glam effect that the others do. But there's tons of cemeteries like Oakwood where like there's just a few internments, and sometimes they seem to know each other. And this is a case where that is true. I went to 18 cemeteries in Los Angeles. Like, they had options, and I didn't even hit them all up. So this just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. They were both very accomplished in their own right. Don't get me wrong. I've seen movies without each other in them, but they were, I think, most famously known for their tap dancing partnership in movies like Swing Time. I don't know. Again, I grew up being a dancer. Like, I watched this stuff in classes, and I went through a very big Fred and Ginger kick in middle school, like all acne-ridden 14-year-olds do. I was cool. So seeing Fred and Ginger's grave, and in the same cemetery no less, was a cool experience for me. These are cool graves. Anyway, Ginger Rogers was a cool lady. I loved seeing her by herself, not just because of the partnership of Fred Astaire, even though I just made a big deal about it. I hear myself. Her grave is a little more understated. She shares it with, I believe it was her mother. It may have been her sister, but I think it's her mother that she's with. There's no bells and whistles. You would probably never know that this is an old Hollywood grave, which just sort of proves the point that I've been like slowly making. Like, I've been concocting a thesis that sometimes when you're super famous, you don't need a huge Washington Monument grave to prove it, or if you're super successful in the industry, if you will, as a public facing figure. Because I think everyone thinks that everyone has these like crazy vanity graves, if you will, but a lot of them have the most normal, anyone could have this grave kind of situation. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but I just find this interesting because it happens way more often than not. Like, this is the rule, not the exception. I mean, she could have had like some heels that were tappers, you know, etched into her grave. I'm just saying, I wouldn't have been mad. Not that I'm complaining. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not critiquing the grave. I'm just saying, like, she that's not immodest, is my point. So look at my dog, Lady Grimm, loving life here. She was a traumatized animal when I got her, and she was afraid of everything except cemeteries, so hashtag meant to be. Also, if you go to Oakwood Memorial Park, congratulations. It's possibly the most well-labeled cemetery I have ever been to in my entire life. It's labeled as it says on the internet. It's clear. You can read the labels on the curb. Sometimes they're faded. It is a very straightforward, the way it was like planned. It's a great cemetery for that reason alone. I'll be talking more about it in an upcoming episode because I'm going to be doing a top 18 because that's how many cemeteries I went to. I know it's a random number, but top 18 cemeteries that I've been to, so check it out. Button and profile to watch, and please subscribe if you feel like doing so. I'll love it. So see the full episode where Lacey and I both talk about Fred and Ginger. We talk about the cemetery. We talk about life. We talk about all the things, including I was about to leave Los Angeles, and I got to talk a little bit where the show went and how I almost ended it and how I'm going to keep it going and how I'm going to be doing more cemeteries outside of Los Angeles. I already have 2 filmed, one in Denver, one in Tennessee. Obviously, a lot of Atlanta stuff is coming because I've been living in Atlanta. So if you're new to this page or new to the show or new to me, this is a great episode to start with, which is why I'm making its own very special TikTok to promote it. Because if you have any questions about the things of the things, a lot of questions might be answered in that episode, and you'll just get a general sense of where the show has been and where I'm hoping the show will go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you thought these were cool graves, because they were cool people, if nothing else. I feel like cool people should have cool graves. That should be a rule, but whatevs. Please hit that follow button as well as my subscribe button in YouTube. And as always, stay alive until next time. Bye.